The Gilberti is, as we mentioned, head of character development as opposed to Mike Sanders.
I love these goofs.
Who is head of recruitment. And as you mentioned, like, these two are just being goons on this TV show as lower card jobbers who lose matches and do skits. And that is their role, and that is good.
Yeah, I kind of love them together. At one point, when Russo leaves, he puts Sonny Siaki in charge as the ace in the hole. And there was one I adored this backstage segment with Desire, Sonny Siaki, Gilberti, and Sanders, where at first they're like, yeah, why should we listen to you? And then Desire's like, because you put him in charge. And then they're like, all right, what do you want us to do, boss? And I was like, all right, these dorks are great together.
Yeah, and there's like sex power struggles going on now because every time Russo's not there, Siaki is in charge, and everyone else is upset about this. And
except Desire. Desire is very pro Siaki being in charge.
Or Loki, who is just doing like pull-ups on the rafters while everyone is giving out to each other.
just calls him Spider-Man.
So there's, I think, is it my favorite segment of the month? No, but there's a segment where they're looking at a calendar backstage. Or, if you notice, the calendar is actually Juventud Guerrera's personal calendar that he produced with his own money and had been trying to sell at Mexican newsstands. So, Gilberti is looking at this juice calendar, being like, oh, you see, this is the kind of guy we could get behind.
What's his name? Hulai. It's just a calendar. It says July.
Oh, yeah. I like them as goons. Not them trying to be cool. Yeah. Not them trying to dress in fatigues and be tough guys. Not them doing jive talking with disco and, like, harkening back to the good old days.
Yeah, no, this is so much better. Like, they're all great here, and they're great whenever, like, one of them's on commentary about the other wrestlers, too. Just a couple of goons.
And they then later in the month have an interview with Mike Tenay.
Yeah. Alright, so I think we should, before we go into the content of it, I think we should go into the behind-the-scenes aspect of it, because that's way funnier.
According to the Wrestling Observer, apparently the version that aired was the 5th take, and this time they kept doing it over because Tenay carved them up too badly on the first take, and they closed the gap until it was fairly even by take 5.
I like how they had to keep, like, building their arguments, and then they took the bits that they were like, alright, that's pretty good. And then, like, by the time they got to the 5th way round, they had enough content to fire back.
It's like Tenay just massacred them so badly that they're like, we gotta do it again. And then Tenay still massacres them. It's like, guys, we gotta do it again.
And, like, what it basically boils down to in the end is just two guys screaming over one guy. But the fact that, like, he keeps composure the entire time tonight. Like, if I'm in that scenario, I'm getting just as worked up as Gilberti and Sanders, and I'm like, well, fuck you guys too, you know? Like, but he just sits there and he just nods and he just hits them with these cold one-liners out of nowhere.
Yeah, because like, Gilberti's, why have all these people abandoned wrestling over the last few years? And then Mike Tenay just coolly, you know what, did you ever think it's because of this sports entertainment bullshit that so many people have abandoned wrestling over the last few years? And Gilberti's like, shut up!
And Gilberti's like, yeah, you're in this wrestling bubble, you know? Everything you like is wrestling. And he's like, that's not true at all. And he's like, all right, shit, well, we got nothing for that.
You know what? I understand that wrestling has to develop and move on, and that there is a balance between this sports entertainment and this pro wrestling. There is a middle ground between the two extremes. And then he's like, oh.
I really wish we could see the first one. I also really want to see the first one of the Conan interview as well.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a sec. I did hate the freaking disco line where he's like, you guys had traditional wrestling. It's like, no, we didn't.
No, there was 1 month. We had 1 month of a traditional wrestling show. And it was the best month.
Oh, God.
You were on most of the shows.
You introduced the Dup Cup. You were in that segment.
You should know that we didn't have traditional wrestling.
We never did, and if we did, it was a brief reprise from nonsense. We had the Dups and freaking the Johnsons and Puppet, but Puppet was good. And the Bruce.
Are you insinuating that the Dups weren't?
Well, to be fair, they were too. Except, you know, the Dups did jump the shark for the second Dup Cup match. The first one's a masterpiece. In typical wrestling fashion, they went back to the well.